I wanted to create a place where the trials and tribulations of life become transformative testimonies. A place where everyday individuals from all walks of life courageously open up about the challenges that have passed and the challenges that will last. A place to celebrate the beauty of faith, the resilience of the human spirit, and the profound impact of sharing our journeys with one another. I'm Heather Patterson. Welcome to Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Okay, hey y'all. I just want to thank you for tuning back in today with the Blood, Sweat, and Tears podcast. And today we have such a beautiful and special guest with us. Her name is Rebekah Fowlkes, and a lot of you actually may know her. She's a very successful entrepreneur. She has a podcast of her own called Wide Open Spaces, a phenomenal podcast. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's all the things. And Rebekah, thank you so much for being here today to just share all the good and wonderful things that Jesus has done in your life. I'm just so grateful to have you.
Heather, you're so sweet. You're such an encourager. And when I knew you were thinking about starting a podcast, I immediately was like, oh, well, she's going to be amazing at that because you love hearing people's stories. You ask great questions and you always make them feel so seen and loved. So I know this is such a hit. I'm so excited for this.
You were, and I think I've told you this, but to share with everybody else that you were actually the one that, like, unbeknownst to you at the time, that catapulted
that's so sweet.
This thing that, that the Lord had on my heart to do for years. And I kept putting it off and putting it off. I think I just didn't I couldn't take that leap of faith yet. And I was listening to one of your episodes. And when it was over, I immediately texted you and I was like, tell me all the things. Like, how did you do
love
this?
It. I'm so proud.
Like, yes, like you have, it was listening to you that just gave me that extra bump of like, faith and courage to do it. So thank you again.
Well, I love it. I love hearing that.
Yeah. Well, I love listening to your podcast.
Here you are doing the thing. Here we are. Look at us now.
Who knew?
Who knew?
I know. My husband Lane, he's like, yeah, you had to have one way to get that gift of gab out, didn't you? I mean, just give her a mic.
Look at you. I love it.
Yeah. Well, so tell us a little bit. Tell us, the listeners, a little bit about yourself and like what you do and
sure,
all the good and yummy things.
I mean,
where do you start?
Well, I do it all. I do I've got 4 children. So 3 are teenagers. So we're doing all the sports and the school and the carpool. This morning, one of my daughter's car window wouldn't roll up or rolled at something. So Eli's work. So I'm running carpool this morning and always something. And then we have a 2.5-year-old too. So I also threw that in. And so we're doing Thomas the Train and Curious George and learning to eat with
the car
utensils, right? So we're doing it all. And then I'm I would say a serial online entrepreneur. I love starting new things and helping other women start new things. I love seeing women step into their giftings. I think when women have resources, whether that's through education or through financial means or through communities, those women go on to make a lot of impact in their homes first. And then that ripples into their communities. And that's what changes the world. And so I love that. I get excited about that.
And it's true. It's so true. And do you know that, like studies show, and of course, I don't want this to sound terrible towards men because, I'm not meaning it.
I know exactly what you're about to say. I know exactly the study that you've seen.
Well,
that women are more philanthropic.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. They're better givers. They're bigger givers. And so they typically are giving to organizations that support women and girls entrepreneurship or girls building skills that they can go on and whatever it is that their heart's desires. And I just see a difference happen in women when they have again, this could be competence or when they are equipped, that all of a sudden we think, you hear all these things about women are so insecure or they're this or they're that. And it's because our heads are down because we're carrying the weight of all the shoulding that we need to be doing.
Yep.
And it's like you start to get these confidence muscles and you start to work those and you start looking up and you're going, oh, I'm going to encourage and empower this person. And I'm going to share my giftings or my skills or smarts, whatever it is with this friend. And it just ripples. And I love how that happens. I love communities of women, how they're fun and silly and cheer each other on when they supportive and they love helping people. And I feel like a champion for women. I love being around them. And so I've kind of I've been in network marketing for, 13, 14 years. And then I have had a few kind of coaching businesses for kind of women that are in startup sort of things where they're making personal brands and things like that. And so I just love meeting with women with dreams in their hearts to do things. And I think
I love that
they're capable. So
oh my gosh. Well, that kind of made me teary eyed
just because
I mean, really, that's what the world needs more of that. And especially women just needing more of
I agree.
Another female behind them to support them, and just believe.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. That's really cool.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather.
Well, you're doing a great job at it. You're doing a great job.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, when did you first come to know Jesus? Did you grow up in a Christian home or?
I did. I grew up here I've lived in Little Rock basically my whole life. We moved to Pennsylvania for a few years as an adult with kids. But other than that, I'm born and raised in Little Rock. I grew up at church every single time the doors were open. And so I honestly, I was thinking this morning, I think I had this visual, even as a little kid. Somehow I saw like a trapeze artist one time. And I just always, when I would think of my relationship with Jesus and the Lord and just what God does for us, I would picture that net underneath there.
Wow.
And I would just think, even as a little kid, just thinking, we are out here on doing these tricks and trying new things, but the safety net that was under there. And I do think I grew up with a really, really great, albeit strict probably in my head at the time, dad, and just really protective and all the things. And I know that created some friction in high school. But other than that, I just grew up knowing that I was like really adored and really like every day. My dad just like, he is so highly relational. One of my best friends is actually my mom's age kind of. And so Lisa Fisher, and she would tell me even as a high schooler, Rebekah, I just want you to know when you start looking for a husband, like your dad is extremely relational. They're not out there. That's a rare thing.
Yes, that's very unique. No doubt.
Yes, it's very unique. It's very unique. And so, but he just, I will say that my sisters and my brother and I, for all of our weaknesses, which there are many, we are all so confident and secure. And
That's
I think
huge.
that security that our dad gave us, it made it really easy to trust that God had us and that he was this kind of safety net. And I think I probably, I turned plenty of tricks seeing just how strong that safety net was.
No doubt.
But,
Same. Menace to society over here. Yeah.
So I put it to the test and it's still there. It's still very strong. And so, but yeah, I think I was probably 5 at Fellowship Bible Church sitting on someone's knee in the little Sunday school class with the Velcro behind, not the Velcro, the felt, Jesus story behind us, and said, okay, yeah, I want to ask Jesus in my heart. And so, I feel like I've always known Jesus, but yeah, as an early child, we were, in the church and knowing Jesus loved us. And I've always believed that to be true.
Okay. I love that. So did you ever come across and I'm going to just kind of go straight into it. Did you ever come across a trial in life, or a situation, something that you maybe disappointed you about life where you did ever question if he was there or what he was doing or like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. I probably had, I think that I've, one story that I tell sometimes is like, that scene in Beauty and the Beast where Belle is going to look for her dad, and she's on the horse and she's galloping along. And there's the one road where there's birds chirping and the sun is shining and it's like the obvious path.
Yes.
And there was the other one that it's like, ooh, you hear the wolves howling and the branches are turned over. Everything's dead, you know, and she's like, well, let me just try that. And I definitely let me see what's over
funny,
there.
Not funny. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about though. You can see it. Yeah. I mean, so I just did some of that. And I have been someone that, I mean, self-awareness, I feel like I'm pretty good at going, yeah, I did a little of that. I did a little of that. So like taking accountability for what I was doing. So I think through high school, I was probably, you know, doing some of that. I will say that, so I dated a guy in college and he was older, like 6 or 7 years older. And we dated for a couple years and we were talking about getting married and all the things. And then I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, Avery. And it was like, I mean, literally, our town isn't a small town, but it's kind of a big, small town.
Mm-hmm.
And it still feels small. And when you're in certain like circles, like people are, you know, just kind of the school I went to and the church I grew up in, and my parents were just super active in the church, always community group leaders. I was always, I mean, even at that time, I was like still on staff investing in the youth group and all these things. And it just felt, I mean, because it was like a moral failure, like, and so public. And I was 20, no, I was 21. Oh, 20. Anyway, I was 20, I guess, when I found out. I was 21 when I had her. So I was a junior in college. And we decided to get married. And it really, my whole dream, my whole life has been to be a mom. Like I would look at different things in school and I would go, I mean, like all my mom's friends were stay-at-home moms. That just seemed like what I wanted to do. I just didn't have these dreams of climbing a corporate being or being super active in the workplace. Like I dreamed of having birthday parties for my kids and
being
taking them on trips and being doing carpool, the whole thing. Like that's just what I wanted to do.
All the laundry and all the things.
All the laundry, all of it, you know, and I didn't realize how much laundry that would be at the time, but you know, at the time it looked very, you know, I could really romanticize that. And so basically in 3 years, I had 3 babies. And so I was 24.
I have so many chill bumps right now. Just like I felt the weight of the
babies. Yes. I mean, and you know, you can say I want to be a stay-at-home mom and one income is totally fine. However, I did go to like a college preparatory private school and you know, there were things that I was sheltered from but I think one thing that I came out of it, a miscommunication I think I grew up with was like, if you grow up and you go to college and you're living like of course you're going to make 6 figures and you're going to like have like everything that you like, that's just duh. I mean, and like, just so many things taken for granted that they're just done because that's just how it was all around me. And so here we are, one income, 3 babies. And I think marriage, I don't want to say marriage is always hard because it's not. And there's like really, I mean, I love being married so much. I think it's the best thing. Like I love it all. But anything that's great does take work. Yeah. And so there's hard things that come up. And there was a lot of extra hard things that were in that marriage. That was, I was married for 10 years to my kid's dad. And there were just a lot of extra hard things that didn't have to be there. And I can still cry in the shower, honestly, that it was like that. Because I mean, for my kids now, who we have, honestly, the relationship that I have with my kid's dad is, I mean, borderline idyllic and weird because I mean, he comes over on Christmas morning. We do holidays together. You live life around us, you know, like we're all just we're just together all the time.
That's so incredible and so rare.
Yes. And so I think there's been parts of it that have just made me go, you know, there were parts of it that were so hard for so long. Like, I don't want to carry that any longer than you like, I'm just going to put those things, forgive. And I truly believe that forgiveness, whether that's to yourself or to other people, it creates rich, fertile ground for God to do works in you. Like it just does.
How
And
did you reach that point? Do you remember if there was like ever just a pivotal moment where you were like, I can forgive, or this is what I need to do?
I mean, not to be like a total dork, but you know that Martin Luther King Jr. quote that's like, I've like tried love and I've tried hate. Now I'm going to choose love because hate is too big a burden to carry.
And it is.
It was something like that. I don't know that there was like an actual pivotal moment in all of that, but I do know I wanted to be around my children as much as possible. And when we did get divorced, we did 50-50 custody. And so it was like every Monday we would swap kids. We always just lived like a couple miles from each other. And I wanted it to be fluid, where if I needed help, he would be the one that got the kids. And if he needed, help, work, whatever, that I could jump in. And it wasn't like, I wanted it for my kids and for me. Like it's so peaceful that I don't have to worry if something comes up, that I can just say, hey, can we switch this around? Or, hey, I'm going to go to this game. Will you go to this? Like we just work together really, really well. And in this season of life, that was not the case before. I think some people probably see how well that we work. And I mean, everybody has questions about everything. And you're like, well, if that worked so well, why couldn't you figure it out years ago? But that was 10 years of counseling and praying and calling on, every single thing that could possibly happen. And it just, people make decisions. And that was just the decision that we came to. But in that season, and so sorry for the long squirrel there.
No, I love it.
Okay.
No,
okay.
Keep going.
Well, in that, when you are, and maybe this can relate to someone else's situation, where it's like, I can remember that season and when I had the 3 little bitties. And it was like, I think he was working 2 jobs. I was at home with all the kids. I think we had cable, but you didn't have internet. We didn't have, you're just like, you're at home all the time. And we lived kind of a town away from my family. So I wasn't like super far, but driving that Suburban back and forth 45 minutes every day. I wasn't doing a lot of that. So I kind of was isolated too, and all my friends are still in college or just getting out of college, and they're having these or they're getting married and they don't have children. So it just felt isolating. And I remember during that season, I would be doing like 2 and 3 Bible studies at a time and worship music on all the time and praying and journaling and asking God to pluck me out of this kind of wilderness season that I was in, and people all around me praying. I say all around me. I had a very tight circle that knew anything was going on at all, but those people were praying with me, and it just wasn't changing. And so I just kind of felt like, why not? Like, why is this not changing? And is it, I think my flesh wants to go to like a performance place. Like, do I not deserve it? Like, do I need to pray and fast more? Do I need to do more Bible studies? Do I need to
no, I know exactly what you're talking
my
about.
Clothes and sackcloth, that kind of thing. Like where, and so then I'm putting it on my performance, honestly, which is not helpful. So, and so finally, I think just trying to trust the process, trying to do what I needed, anything that I could do to make it better, which then there were also things I did that did not make it better at all. So, just that really was a season of and it felt really long.
Like
10 years is
a long season of waiting.
That's
for
a long
things
time.
to
That's
change.
a long waiting. Yes. And it's like everything sacred to you. Every part of you. And so
were you like just crying out, going, Lord,
felt
I
like
can't
a long
even
time.
hang on. I just I'm barely hanging on by a thread here. And yet you
100%.
need to be with the kids.
I mean, and I say that, and then I also think I remember my dad saying to me, he goes, it's kind of amazing to me that you're going through all this. He goes, and you still just like hum and sing around the house. And I do think I trusted that God was going to do something.
Yes.
I did. I just didn't know what it would be. And I just kept waiting for a change.
Yeah.
And then it was like, there's so many stories all around us of stories where God provides, stories where God's so faithful, stories where there's redemption and restoration. And I think I just kept waiting on mine to come, and it didn't, it didn't. And it got to kind of a point where it was like, something had to change. And so then we went through a divorce, which is again, just every part of you, that is your finances, your identity, your children, your dreams, your vision for whatever you think in the world, your reputation. Like everything is raw. Like it's completely raw. And feels like the absolute worst thing ever. And then you add on that I did not finish college, and I had been a stay-at-home mom with exactly 0 work history for 10 years. And so that's when I found, or right there at the end, kind of was when I found network marketing. And it was a way for me to still be home. And because, we cut all the ties, and it wasn't a like alimony, child support, everything was 50-50. So it was just like, okay, you're on your own on top of everything else. And so that creates some get up and go. So get up and go.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful that I found something like that I could do and learn skills. And
because you were in a sink or swim situation. If I want to stay home with my kids.
Yeah, I was in a doggy paddle up to my neck. Yeah, with all those kids. And I kept thinking that. That was one of the things probably for years that I would literally lay there and think, what am I going to do? What would I do by myself with all these? Move into my parents' guest house and eat Easy Mac and do 2 jobs. I didn't know. I just didn't know at that time. And so anyway, but then about I met Eli, my husband now, and it was like every part of Eli is like God's faithfulness. And I literally just cried thinking about him, because he just brought in structure and stability.
Were you ready to get married at that point? Like, were you when you met Eli? Were you like at a point?
Yes, it would be the answer. Like I feel like in all the hard of the other, it was just such a severed in every way relationship for so long that it wasn't a grief. Like I know some people when they go, like there's something that hurt them, or there's an event or something, or like something just happened and drew them apart. But maybe that had only been going on a year or 6 months or so. This had been years and years and years. And so yes.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure the outside, again, looking in, people are like, well, that was fast. That was a little fast, but it was, my heart was ready. And I think, and I just, the thought that I have when I think about coming out of that was God allowed me to come out from a really hard situation, like a burning forest fire, not even smelling like smoke. Like I just think about all and I see his faithfulness all over that. And I see that with the way that we've been able to blend and meld a imperfect situation. And I'm very grateful for that. And that has been a real unexpected picture of God's faithfulness and just still saying, I got you. And again, like it's not I wish it's not the story I had to tell. I really do. I wish it's not, because I know every time, there's still a tinge in my heart where I hear people tell a redemption story that came from a broken marriage and then it all came back, and the beauty and the blessings and the favor and the design for that to be together. I do I grieve that that's not my story, but I am so grateful that in the midst of a really hard part of my story, God swooped in and made it something beautiful that I would not have designed. But I am really grateful that it is
that net
what
was
it
still
is.
there. That net, he had.
That net was still there.
Yeah.
That net was, we bounced really low, but then it brought us back up.
But then you bounced
We
really
got some
high.
good springs. Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
really, like all of us, I won't say all of us, I would say like a majority of us, I know, my trials and the ones that won't go away in our household,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want those at all. I don't even think
No.
we ever want them. But the beauty that you found on the other side of it is so much more beautiful than with God than you would have found before
It's
if
so
it hadn't
true.
have happened, right?
No, it really, it shapes you. It humbles you, and it makes you rely on God in different ways, and it makes you vulnerable to I just feel like the only good thing about really hard trials is when you press into Jesus, it feels like he's like literally next to you. Like like you can like all but audibly hear you just know he's right there. And though that part of it, the things that God taught me in the real deep crevices of all of that are so part of who I am. Like I don't have any questions of, is God real? What does he think about me? What does he have, a plan over my life? That I'm just committed because of who he is.
Yeah.
And not because that was in the wilderness, not because of the fields and the promised land that he gave after. But even in that, it's just that I felt so close to him. And so like, he was right there.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe
No,
that. And
no.
so that was worth it for all of the other, because when stuff's just easy,
it's easy to forget his presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just, you're distracted. You can just be distracted. And it's like, whenever you're in a trial, it's like you laser in to the most important thing. And that part of it, I'm so grateful for.
You laser into the
for.
most important thing, or you are lasering into what you need, and a majority of the time is that like, you just need that hope and you need that like strength. Right.
Yes.
And so,
totally agree. Yes.
Yeah, you are just sometimes struggling or just like, knowing you need that strength. I think for me and just one specific trial, it took me a minute to get back to God, because I was like, are you even there? Because I'm struggling,
Yeah.
And I think, and also in that, I could go down a rabbit hole with that, because then that becomes like a discernment of his presence, right? And not like a discernment of attack on your situation that you're in.
Well, and it kind of takes me back even to what I was saying about my dad earlier. And I feel like sometimes I hear people and they didn't have a great relationship with their dad. And so when they find the Lord and they start to feel, loved and understand who he is and how dependable he is and all those things, they have this different connection because they hadn't had that before. But I feel like sometimes a catch-22 to having a dad that is like gonna boulder in there and I'm taking care of this and I'm sweep up and save the day. Yes, that you're a little bit like, okay, when are you coming in to save the day?
Yeah.
Because if Gene Davis knew that I was, hurting or in a terrible situation or like, just needed rescuing, he would do it. And so being able to discern, okay, my best, what I feel like my best would be in this situation does not necessarily line up with what, like, God has a different vantage point, a different perspective. And so trusting that. And then, I see women on, Instagram or whatever, and they've lost a child and you're thinking, or they've gone through a horrible trial. anything. And you're like, how do you resonate that is God's best for you? How do you sit in that? And I think that it's okay to just have questions on, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not going to know or understand that on this side of heaven. And I think when I get to heaven, even though I think I'm going to have a lot of questions, I'm probably not.
Yeah.
I'm probably not. But I I do think it's okay if you're in one of those trials to say, I don't like this.
Mhm.
And I don't understand what this is and why it is. But I think being faithful um, in still pursuing him, looking to surround yourself with other people who have gone through trials and are still trusting Jesus. I mean, I remember when I did go through a divorce, people kept telling me I needed to get in like a divorce group, which I'm sure there's fantastic divorce groups
Yeah.
out there and that they have great things to offer. And I remember going, no, I want to be around happy married people
Uh-huh.
that say, this is hard and you can do it. Like, I don't want to be around people complaining about, not that that's what I've never been in one. So I'm not
Right. But I
generalizing.
get what you're
Again,
saying.
I'm sure they have value.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I wanted to be around my mom and sisters and close friends that were like, you're going to come out of this and you're going to have a great relationship. And here's stuff that's hard in my marriage right now. And we're going through it. And here's how we're, going through those waters and
Yeah.
those kinds of things. Anyway, I'm rambling,
Well,
but those are things that have been helpful for me.
too. And like for me, one of the biggest things of, I've eventually reached a point of realizing it was just this like epiphany moment where I was like, well, wait a second. I mean, I may not know why this happened, but I do know that we live in a fallen world and it's broken. And so
Mm-hmm.
I am to expect these. To expect the things that are not fun and I don't know about because that's where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're in that in between.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had that realization that instead of like, why did this happen to me? Or, I needed an answer. I think that's also the human control of the situation. I needed an answer. Right. But just that realization that we're in a broken world and this is going to happen. It's going to happen until
we're going to have some trials. Yeah.
Until we are on the other side where he promises that there will be peace and goodness and
That's
no more
right.
pain. Yeah. So, well,
And no more pain.
No more pain. No. Oh my gosh.
I'm looking forward to that.
Same. I know. Just the other day, a friend had texted me and she goes, oh my goodness, I just need a margarita. And I said, I just need Jesus to come back.
That's right. I was really having high hopes for that eclipse. I was like, is this going to be something? I kept looking. I was ready, looking in the sky.
Oh, yes.
Really? Got it. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get off, tell me a Bible verse or Bible verses that have kind of been your strength. Even like if it were like during, the divorce or trial or after, or just something that continues to give you peace that you refer to often.
Yes. I have had this verse framed in my kitchen for, I don't even know, almost 20 years. And I look at it and it has new meaning and new thing all the day. Actually, I have a little chalkboard sign when you walk into my house outside on my porch and it's written on there right now. It means so much to me. And so it's Isaiah 43:19 and it says, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And it's just a reminder to me when I feel like I'm in the whether it's a new day and you're dealing with kids not liking the scrambled eggs you made them for breakfast, or you're in the middle of an absolute trial, or you're just, doing the dishes at 10 o'clock at night. Like, it's just a reminder that God is constantly changing and forming us and molding us more to his likeness. And it gives me hope for the future, even when it feels like we're in the wilderness and we're overwhelmed and all the things, that he's there and he has a plan and he has an intention for the hard, and that I'm going to choose to trust him. Because I do think that's a choice.
Yeah,
I'm going to choose to trust him,
having
that he's working
discernment
it for my good.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you just said that it takes on it's kind of taken on a new meaning as time has
all
gone
the time.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. I love that. I'm going to keep that one up in my house too. I'm going to make note of that one.
You should. You should. Yes. Claim it.
And it's kind of like, see, in the wilderness, when you said that in the wilderness, I kind of thought of like Belle going down that dark road. And he was like,
That's right.
You go ahead and take it.
No matter how you got there.
I've still got you. I've still got a plan.
I still got you.
You do you,
That's
boo.
right.
But listen,
That's right.
I'm there in the wilderness to catch you. Okay.
That's right.
Well, thank
I'll
you,
still be
sweet
there.
friend, for being on today and just taking
I loved it, Heather.
some
You're
time
doing big
out.
things. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you more. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks, girl. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. I'd love for you to join me on Instagram and YouTube at BS&T Podcast. That's B as in blood, S as in sweat, A-N-D, T as in tears podcast. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode reminding you that the battle has already been won.